Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Barbara Colton, and I'm Vice President of the Board of Trustees here at Mainline Unitarian Church. Welcome on this rainy Sunday. It's great to be together and feel the warmth of all of you together this morning. A special welcome to our friends, probably still in pajamas, joining us online. And greetings to any guests who ventured out this morning to join us. We look forward to sharing some refreshments with you and meeting with you during the coffee hour after the service today. A little bit about who we are. At Mainline, we are a diverse community, diverse in our faith, our backgrounds, and our beliefs, and we appreciate that life experiences influence our beliefs more than anything. We have no creeds. We often say we do not need to think alike to love alike. We are truly here in community to love one another and to help those in need of love in the world. Now, let me introduce our worship team this morning. We have Carolyn Bright, our intern minister, leading our worship today. Yay. Dawn Star Saras Borschelt, our Director of Lifespan Faith Development, will lead our Time for All Agers with the so aptly named chosen book, The Big Umbrella. Tracy Simpson is our Worship Associate. And let's all welcome back Justin Solonenka, who will be serenading us on piano. So, I have a couple big announcements today. I'm going to start with the big one, the biggest one. This past Saturday, our intern minister, Caroline Bright, interviewed with the Ministerial Fellowship Committee. And the committee concluded that upon completion of her Master's of Divinity next spring, she will be eligible to be ordained as a UU minister. Congratulations, future Reverend Caroline. So, speaking of serenades and piano that I mentioned a moment ago and music, I want to announce that the board and Reverend John have established a music task force to guide our music ministry on an interim basis through March of this coming year. The music task force will include 5 members of the congregation. And if you are here in the room when I call your name, would you please rise? Tina Adams, David Brown, Sam Levine, Mary Stromquist, I think she's in Virginia, and Michael Zink. They will arrange the music programs on Sundays, identify an interim choral director, and support and coordinate other areas of our music program, all in shared ministry with Reverend John and the board and all of you, with the spirit of honoring Vincent and experimenting to raise up new ways of serving the diverse needs and interests of our congregation. The board and Reverend John will be making decisions on the timing for the search committee for the new music director as we move forward. So now shifting to some spiritual news. Did you know that we have our own outdoor Baltic labyrinth? Anybody? Well, This is another way you can live up your spiritual practice by joining the meditations groups. They're having a labyrinth walk this coming Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m. And they encourage you all to sign up via the link in eNotes, or there's a flyer in the atrium, because registration is required. And lastly, I have one other announcement that I wanted to make. I wanted to give a little shout out to Bonnie Marzoff. Is Bonnie here? No, okay. She's done a lot of behind-the-scenes work, planning some of the hospitality that we've had since the arrival of Reverend John, particularly his big debut coffee hour celebration and some of the Sundays in between. And I just wanted to recognize her for the work that she's done as well. Now, kindly silence any of your pesky electronic devices and let us affirm our mission statement together. Together, we transform lives through love, service, and our welcoming faith.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. We light this flame to honor the humanness of the Unitarian Universalist. When we leave home to venture into the world, we don't leave our humanness behind. Our needs, emotions, and dreams come with us. As humans, we intentionally seek out to build connections with those that are most different from ourselves. We can model curiosity and wonder. When we're leading with love, we embrace our own vulnerability, openly acknowledge our imperfections, and share how these allow us to learn and to grow. Vulnerability is one of those qualities we first look for in others, but it is the last thing we want to show ourselves. Being vulnerable takes courage. We need to know that we can ask those around us for help when we are struggling, and that we will be supported when things go wrong. It gets easier if we foster a deep sense of wonder and curiosity, becoming genuinely interested in those around us, listening deeply to what they are saying, and crucially, to what they are not saying. Asking lots of questions, exploring their perspective from all angles, and staying open and curious in conversations generates an environment where people feel heard, seen, and truly loved. And now, for our prelude, Justin is going to provide us a wonderful Pat Metheny song called Praise.
First of all, I apologize for my voice. I know how hard it is to listen to someone speak who is clearly struggling. Our call to worship is very short today. Hospitality is simply love on the loose. And now, please rise, embody your spirit to sing more ably than I am today as the MLUC choir leads us in our first hymn, This Little Light.
Anybody else have an umbrella? Put it up. Let's see it. Our story today is the big umbrella. That's a big one. I think the umbrella in this story is a little bit magic, though, because that's a good one, too. I like the leopard, the colorful leopard print. That's really cool. Okay. By the front door, there is an umbrella. It is big. It is a big, friendly umbrella. It likes to help. It likes to spread its arms wide. It loves to give shelter. It loves to gather people in. It doesn't matter if you're tall or hairy or plaid. It doesn't matter how many legs you have. Some people worry that there won't be enough room under the big umbrella. But the amazing thing is that there is. There's always room. I invite the children to go to their classes now. And some of them are going to be making apple crisp, so look for that at coffee hour.
Each month, we donate half our weekly collection to a worthy organization in need. The recipient of our offering outreach for September is the Mighty Writers. Mighty Writers teach kids aged 3 through 17 to think and write with clarity so they can achieve success at school, at work, and in life. As a result, their grades improve, their self-esteem soars, and futures come into view. Mighty Writers is a 501c3 nonprofit organization established in 2009. 100% of the programs they offer are free. They serve communities in and around Philadelphia, Camden, Newark, and Atlantic City, and also through virtual programming and partnerships with schools and community organizations. When the pandemic hit, the organization began providing food and essential resources at many of its sites. In addition to after-school, out-of-school, and summer writing programs, Mighty Writers offers daily distribution of diapers, period products, books, clothing, school supplies, and groceries, all given away for free. And through the valuable work of Mighty Writers, they are strengthening the communities they serve by helping each student to reach their maximum potential. If you are at home, you can donate using the link on the home page, or if you're here in church and want to donate electronically, there's the QR code on the back of the order of service. The offering will now be greatly received. Will the ushers please come forward? What is given in love is received with gratitude. Oh, I'm sorry, please go ahead, Justin. It is our custom to share our personal joys and sorrows, expecting to be heard. Are you lighting candles? Expecting to be heard, accepted, and supported. Candles of Community is our ritual of personal sharing and support. After each candle is lit, please join me in saying, "We hold you in our heart." The Partner Church Committee lights a candle in solidarity with our partner, the Varfalva Unitarian Church in Transylvania, Romania. Today, their congregation celebrates the traditional Transylvanian Unitarian Thanksgiving, a major holiday on the religious calendar that marks the end of the harvest season. For the Varfalva Unitarian Church, we hold you in our hearts. And we light a candle of joy today for Kevin Donahue and Virginia Kirk, who are thrilled to announce the safe arrival of their new grandsons, James and Thomas Donahue, born September 19th at 3:32 p.m. They are both safely back home with parents Pete and Marissa and big sister Mia. For the Donahue family, we hold you in our hearts. And for joys and sorrows, too deep for words, we light a candle. Amen.
But wait, Barbara. One more candle. I would like to have a candle lit today of joy, but primarily of gratitude. And frankly, Barbara, if you could light every single candle, that probably wouldn't be enough, but don't do that because we don't need to waste that many candles. We will symbolically have the one candle. My gratitude is to all of you. I had my MFC appointment yesterday, and a year ago, it's not something that would have been possible. The interview that I gave yesterday was the direct result of the incredible teaching that I have had from all of you in this congregation over the last year. The committee told me that when I interviewed with them, they saw a minister. And that is because of every single person here and who is a part of this community. So today's candle is one of gratitude for every single person here. Thank you for making me a minister. And now, I invite you to take a moment to relax and look at the screen as we hear one of my personal favorite songs that I listened to as the last thing before I went into my interview yesterday, India Arie's I Am Light.
Things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am light, I am light. I am light. I'm not the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that caused me pain. I am not the pieces of the
perhaps it's appropriate that a big part of my sermon today is about how perfection doesn't exist. Though I do feel like I was tempting the universe a little bit, and you didn't need to prove this to me with a cold, like this weekend. It was fine. It was fine. I already believed that perfection is a myth. But thanks for that reminder, universe. So this is a longer version of the sermon that I shared with the Ministerial Fellowship Committee yesterday. And I'm very excited to bring it to you today. When I was in the 5th grade, I read a column in my local newspaper that made me really angry. The author used stereotypes about women going to the bathroom in groups and carrying handbags as a way to try to score cheap humor points in this column. I was not amused. I was outraged. When I told my mom about this, she explained that what people do when they're upset about something that they see published in the newspaper is they write a letter to the editor. So I wrote my rage into a letter saying, among other things, I read the Messenger to find out what's going on locally and to find out local opinions, not to read about stereotypes. I find it disgusting. And concerned that people wouldn't believe I'd written this letter myself, I added a PS. I am 10 and a half years old and I am homeschooled, and my mom did not help me with this, but she did make me copy it 4 times. We then faxed it to our local newspaper office. So that tells you about what time this was. Faxing was cutting edge technology. One of the things about that episode that really stuck with me was not that the letter was published, and it was, but it was that a family friend told me later he'd read the letter and he thought it was really good. And as preteens are wont to be, I was so embarrassed. These days, as an intern minister, it's no surprise that what I get fired up about gets written down, sometimes into sermons. Sexism still makes me mad, but that's a topic for another day. One of the most important things that I've been forced to do in seminary is to engage in self-reflection. And as part of that, I've learned that my absolute most loathed emotion to experience is embarrassment. I don't enjoy feeling guilty or feeling ashamed, but embarrassment is what takes the cake for me. Embarrassment differs from shame in that it has an audience. You might be the only person who knows what you're ashamed of, but when something shameful happens in public, it's embarrassing. Kids these days often refer to embarrassing things as cringe or cringy. Another way I've heard that cringy feeling described is as getting the ick, which feels very relatable. If you just think about that, oh, I got the ick, like, yeah, I get it. As I'm sure most of us recall, being a teen or a preteen is basically one long, drawn-out, full-on cringe season of life. Your parents are embarrassing. You constantly embarrass yourself. And now I'm going to cough and embarrass myself in front of all of you. I apologize. It's an object lesson. Sometimes you look back in retrospect and you realize that those things you did as a teenager were just embarrassing, right? Like maybe hypothetically, you look back at an old diary and realize that you drew up a pro and con list of whether or not you should hold hands with the person you had a crush on. Hypothetically. So it's no wonder that young people on TikTok are quick to designate things as cringe in order to feel better about their own embarrassing moments. I am really regretting that this sermon is 30 pages long in this very moment. Maybe you'll get lucky and we'll skip 15 pages because I am struggling today. Oh my goodness. In an article in Psychology Today, Dr. Neil Burton writes, whereas embarrassment is a response to something that threatens our projected image but is otherwise morally neutral, shame is a response to whether something that is morally wrong or reprehensible. Shame is normally accentuated if its object is exposed. But unlike embarrassment, it also attaches a thought or action that remains undisclosed and undiscoverable to others. I've learned that my personal reaction to embarrassment is much more powerful than my reaction to guilt or shame. And what I wonder is this: is that a thing for Unitarian Universalists generally? Because we don't have a dogmatic belief system that centers around personal redemption from sin or shame. Are we as a denomination more susceptible to the public shame of embarrassment than we are to the private feeling of shame? I think it's something uncomfortable that bears consideration. Brené Brown's work is very powerful for so many people because much of it centers around the need for vulnerability in creating human connection. So many of us are afraid of sharing our soft, vulnerable, shamed selves. Again, I did not mean to demonstrate this so clearly for you, but here we are. I know that I would personally love to ignore my negative emotions all day, every day, forever. That would be my preference. I would very much like to be preaching this sermon, not coughing every moment, not sounding like there's a frog in my throat. I would far prefer for this to be perfect, pristine, and not at all embarrassing. In her book, Daring Greatly, Brené Brown writes, "Shame resilience is key to embracing our vulnerability. We can't let ourselves be seen if we're terrified by what people might think. Often, not being good at vulnerability means that we are good at shame. While shame and embarrassment might differ based on audience, the need to build up our resilience around both of them is the same." The title of Brené Brown's book, Daring Greatly, comes from one of my all-time favorite quotations, a quote from President Theodore Roosevelt. "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who actually does strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best, in the end, knows the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." Fear of being embarrassed holds many people back. When you're in school, you might be too scared to raise your hand in class. What if you get the answer wrong? It might hold you back from trying out for the high school musical. What if you sound terrible when you try to sing in front of people? As an adult, you may avoid speaking up in a work meeting. What if people think your idea is silly? You couldn't possibly apply to that graduate program, put your name on that ballot, start that business. What if you get rejected? What if you lose? What if you fail at something that you're passionate about? And on top of your own personal disappointment and the feeling of failure, everyone would know. Those are publicly embarrassing things. So it's better to just not try. That's safer, that's less dangerous. That is less vulnerable. We protect ourselves from negative emotions by giving in to our fear. It protects us from ever stepping foot in the arena. If we aren't in the arena, we can't get hurt, our fear tells us. Interestingly, when it comes to embarrassment, a lot of comedians have something to say about it, which makes complete sense. What is stand-up comedy if not making yourself vulnerable in public? Putting what you've created in public on stage under the lights, waiting for real-time feedback in the form of laughter? That sounds absolutely terrifying for most of us, doesn't it? Comedy giant Tina Fey wrote, "For my first show at SNL, I wrote a Bill Clinton sketch, and during our read-through, it wasn't getting any laughs. This weight of embarrassment came over me, and I felt like I was sweating from my spine out. But I realized, okay, that happened. I did not die." You've got to experience failure to understand that you can survive it. I did not think that I would so viscerally understand the experience of sweating from the spine out today, and here we are together. Tina Fey would not be the massively successful artist and performer that she is if she let that horrendous feeling of sweating from the spine out get the best of her. We wouldn't have gotten cultural touchstones like Mean Girls and 30 Rock if Fey hadn't learned how to survive the embarrassment of failure. Building up resilience around failure and that embarrassment that comes with it is critical to being successful at the thing you want to do. As Winston Churchill famously said, success is not final, failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. Now, sure, not everybody can be a Tina Fey or a Winston Churchill, but we can all benefit from their wisdom when it comes to tackling the things that we are afraid to do. Now, here is something that we as UUs are afraid to do, and that we need to constantly build up our collective resilience to. It's anti-racist work. One of the best and most important things that I have learned at Meadville Lombard is the Jones and Oken framework for understanding white supremacy culture. It's not a checklist for how to identify white supremacists or racists, but a way of recognizing the traits in our society that values culturally, that demonstrate that we have a culture of white supremacy. This is exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about systemic racism. It's the white cultural values being held up as the standard, the best way of doing things. Some traits of white supremacy culture include perfectionism and the connected ideas of one right way, objectivity, what it means to be qualified for something, and professionalism. Spoiler alert, perfection doesn't exist. And without perfection, the concepts of objectivity and what it means to be objectively qualified for something can't exist either. I, of course, can only speak to my experience of this framework as a white person. When I learned about this way of understanding our society, it was incredibly freeing. That's how I began to understand that it is not just people of color who are harmed by white supremacy culture, but it is people who are white as well, who are harmed by the cultural structures that are put on us from the day that we are born. Tima Oken, one of the creators of this framework, writes, "I have come to understand that some people, when introduced to the white supremacy culture article and its list of characteristics, respond with anger, thinking that my goal in listing the characteristics is to shame or blame. Sometimes people are angry about being connected to any of the characteristics, feeling that to admit we have perfectionist tendencies or a belief that our way is the right way makes us bad. My intention is to say that white supremacy culture trains us all to internalize attitudes and behaviors that do not serve any of us. We can never be perfect when perfection is defined by others, particularly by institutions and cultures that do not care about or for us. We are, in fact, already perfect. We were born perfect. No striving necessary. We are strongest when we are allowed to be vulnerable, with ourselves and each other. Be vulnerable, with ourselves and each other. White supremacy culture does not allow for vulnerability, and that is a tragedy for us all." So some of the characteristics that are outlined by Dr. Oken include pointing out how a person or work is inadequate, talking to others about the inadequacies of a person or their work without ever talking directly to them. Mistakes are perceived as personal, i.e. they reflect badly on the person who is making that mistake, as opposed to being seen for what they are, mistakes that we all make because we're human. Making a mistake is confused with being a mistake, doing wrong with being wrong. Often, the perfectionism is internalized, and the person who has internalized that perfectionism fails to appreciate her own good work, more often pointing out his faults or failures, focusing on inadequacies and mistakes rather than learning from them. To me, as a recovering perfectionist, these all sound deeply embarrassing. Now we're gonna get political, which, brace yourselves, it's only mild. One of the many problematic ways that I see perfectionism weaponized is by the progressive left, a political movement that I, as an aggressive Vermonter, am very much a part of. Too often, folks who have progressive political policies believe in this perfectionist idea that there is one right way, another hallmark of white supremacy culture in action. According to Oken, one right way shows up as, get ready to feel uncomfortable, the belief that there is one right way of doing things, and once people are introduced to the right way, they will see the light and adopt it. When a person or group does not adapt or change to fit that one right way, those defining or upholding that way assume that something is wrong with the other, those not changing, rather than being wrong with the people demanding that change. This emphasis on perfection in one right way scares away many of us who are white from learning about or participating in anti-racist work. And then it creates alienation for many more who genuinely do want to participate, but who are driven away by the shame and embarrassment that they experience when their imperfection is weaponized against them. In order to do the important life-saving work of anti-racism, white people have to identify and challenge our own deeply internalized cultural norms. And wow, is that uncomfortable. It involves being vulnerable, being willing to feel embarrassment, being willing to fail, being willing to learn new ways of thinking and doing. And this is where we, as a congregation, as Unitarian Universalists, can be the ones who are leading in love. We must be willing, in spite of the perfectionism of our UU culture, in spite of our fear of embarrassment, to get into the arena. We must be the people who strive valiantly, who make mistakes, who come up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. We must be the people who do actually strive to do the deeds, so that if we fail, at least we fail while daring greatly. So that our place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat, or with those timid souls who have never had a coughing fit from a pulpit. There is no one right way, but to save lives, to change the world, we have to have the courage to weather the storms of embarrassment. And when we do things that are totally cringe, we have to do them because we are called to lead in love. Leading in the sense of being at the forefront of the liberal religious movement, yes, but also because I am a competitive person, in the sense that we can be the ones who are leading, coming in first, in the love that we show the world, and in the love that we show the person sitting next to us. Most importantly, perhaps, when we are vulnerable, and we strive to show the imperfect love that we share through dismantling our internalized culture of white supremacy, we will be able to welcome in folks who have not yet realized that Unitarian Universalism is their spiritual home. Sure, we can start by writing letters to the editor about things that make us mad. But let's not stop there. Let's learn and turn and look inside at our own hearts so that we can live into the legacy of love that we have been given. We will make mistakes, but we must dare greatly. We have to build up our collective vulnerability muscle and our willingness to be uncomfortable. Because we, as Unitarian Universalists, are called to side with love and to make this interconnected world of ours one with more peace, more liberty, and more justice for all. And now, I would like to close with a deeply ironic prayer for a time of embarrassment. Spirit of life, force of goodness, help all of us to have the courage to do the things that we think we cannot do. Help us to have genuinely open minds, open hearts, and a willingness to hear things that make us uncomfortable. Send us people and ideas that will help us grow on our individual and collective search for for truth and meaning. Once we have learned what we need to from our embarrassment, help us not to dwell on it. Please send us what and who we need to make this a better place and to allow all of us to shine our light into the world. Amen, and blessed be. And now I hope you'll rise in body or spirit as our choir leads us with Justin in hymn number 121, We'll Build a Land.
And that, folks, is what community is. That is what you all are. So today, as you go out into the world, may you be blessed. May you not catch my cold. May you be healthy. And may, if you do get sick, you can power through with the support of the community who is there to hold you. Now I invite you to take a seat or stand, but you can take a seat if you want to. And you can join in for our postlude today, a hit that you might be familiar with, the Indigo Girls, Closer to Fine. Take it away, Justin.
taking a cue from Caroline, whether or not you know this song, you should sing along. We'll have interesting harmonies. I'm trying to tell you something about my life. Maybe give me insight between black and white. And the best thing you ever done for me is to help me take my life less seriously. It's only life after all, yeah. Well, darkness has a hunger that's insatiable, and lightness has a call that's hard to hear. And I wrap my fear around me like a blanket. I sailed my ship of safety till I sank it. I'm crawling on your shores. I went to the doctor, I went to the mountains, I looked to the children, I drank from the fountains. There's more than one answer to these questions, pointing me in a crooked line. And the less I seek my source for some definitive, closer I am to find, yeah. Closer I am to find. I went to see the doctor of philosophy, with a poster of Rasputin and a beard down to his knee. He never did marry or see a B-grade movie. He graded my performance. He said he could see through me. I spent 4 years prostrate to the higher mind. Got my paper and I was free. I went to the doctor, I went to the mountains, I looked to the children, I drank from the fountains. There's more than one answer to these questions, pointing me in a crooked line. And unless I seek my source for some definitive, closer I am to find, yeah. Closer I am to find. I stopped by the bar at 3 a.m. to seek solace in a bottle or possibly a friend. And I woke up with my head ached like I hit against a board, twice as cloudy as I've been the night before. And I went in seeking clarity. I went to the doctor, I went to the mountains, I looked to the children, I drank from the fountains. Yeah, we go to the doctor, we go to the mountains, we look to the children, we drank from the fountains. Yeah, we go to the Bible, we go through the workout, we read up on revival, we stand up for the lookout. There's more than one answer to these questions, pointing me in a crooked line. And unless I seek my source for some definitive, closer I am to find, yeah. Closer I am to find, yeah. Closer I am to find.
Good singing. Beautiful. Well done, Paul.